Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanam Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So I thank you everyone for joining us today. And last week we were looking at chapter 7 and covered a few verses. We were exploring how to see Krishna. We had discussed that definitely Krishna is there in the form of the deities. We've been told that. We respect that. Culturally, we're bound to revere them. But there are other ways to also see Krishna. In other words, there are other ways to see God. And they're outlined in the most unique way. We are supposed to see that God is omnipresent. And so, starting with text 8, I'm just doing a little review. We got to understand how to enhance our Krishna consciousness through tasting water, through feeling the light of the sun and the moon, through certain sounds like Om, and also appreciating that all that God is found in your strength. Just like we gave the example that Gaura Chandra, he's a great sax player, and with the saxophone, he was able to show his talents. Well, I'm sorry to say that talent of yours was actually Krishna, according to the Bhagavad Gita. The credit goes to the Lord. Text 9 gives us more ideas. When you smell the earth, when we appreciate the heat and fire, and even people who are doing penances, the ability to perform tapasya is also Krishna, non-different from Krishna. The way that devotees can really hold on, clutch on to their sadhana is by appreciating that the sadhana itself is Krishna. It's also the practice of it. It's sacred and it's divine. So that might be really encouraging. And in text 10, Krishna says, I am the original seed of all existences. He's the source, and he is the intelligence behind intelligent people. Anybody who has a high IQ, we also have to give that credit to the Supreme. And anybody shows any prowess of any kind, whether it be through intellectual strength, physical strength, psychological strength, sexual strength, this is all Krishna. And this is also clear in text 11. I am sex life, which is, let's say, proper, which is responsible. And that's always a hot topic. All right. And then we're looking at text 12 and we're moving along. Okay. So under the same title or the same theme of how to see God in everything, text 12 lies in that framework. I'll read it. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So these energies that people are always talking about are really a manifestation of Krishna. And we can sometimes appreciate that just like the sunshine and the sun, there's hardly a difference. So we make application to Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva, oneness but difference. Again, this kind of mentality enhances our sense of Krishna consciousness. We're supposed to be, as students of the Bhagavad Gita, learning how to be trained up in being conscious of Krishna. So these verses that we just went through are critical for us to apply in order to develop the sense of Krishna consciousness. Okay? And you can get a hint of that philosophy that we always boast about. Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva. God is there and God is not there simultaneously. Does not that not ring true to all of you who are listening?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, he says, I'm in one sense everything, but I am independent. Though that phrase right there tells us a lot about the philosophy that was so much propounded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so we're going to do the next few verses in this chapter. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the the nature of different people, okay? And I'd say this verse 13, it is one that I like to use a lot to make a certain point. And we will ask someone who would like to volunteer to read text 13 for us. Please volunteer.
Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
Okay, great. So this is a verse that is expressing Krishna's supreme dominion over all, his absolute power. And the reason why I think it's a nice verse, it helps us to explain our condition, our human condition. We are influenced by the three gunas. The three means three, and goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the reason we can't perceive Krishna directly a lot of times is because of this. We are bewildered, we are, let's say, covered over by material. We are in ignorance. Lots of people say, you're ignorant. They don't say that about themselves. But yet it's true. When you express to someone you are very ignorant, it is true. But though the person who's saying that is also ignorant, because we are limited in our perception of things because of the three guna, three modes of material nature. And that's why it's hard to see God because of these three gunas. They blind us somewhat. There's another verse too that also expresses our condition. Ichya dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata. If somebody has time, they can look that up. Ichya, I-C-C-H-A, Ichya dvesha. That talks about, there's two reasons why we are bewildered, and apart from this verse. It is hatred and it is love. Those two things. Prabhupada explained once, why are we in the material world? Because of Ichya dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata. We are overcome by ambition or desire. I'm talking about material desire. And secondly, by contempt, by hatred. You know, it's the love and the hate factors that have brought us here to this material world. Like you have people asking that question, why am I in the material? Why did I get here? It's because of Ichya dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata. Everything is in the Bhagavad Gita. And there it is. That is your answer. Okay? And you can also use this verse, 13, to also explore why it's hard to be enlightened, why it's hard to see God, why Why we are in ignorance? Because we are influenced by the three energies. You can call them energies: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Why do we call them energies? Because they're powers that are coming from the energetic. That's why. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Maharaj, our goodness is covering also.
That's a good question. Yes, because goodness is usually that springboard or the launching pad that brings us to self-realization, right? So your question is valid. How does goodness fit in there? Well, there is a sense of pride that does arise from goodness. Like, say, for instance, the mentality that I'm a very good person. You know, I'm very pious. I'm a pious Hindu person. I do my puja, and we do our, we are vegetarian, blah, blah, blah. Or if somebody does a lot of charity work, and sometimes there's a tendency, I want to be recognized for my charity work. So these kind of people need to be applauded and respected, no doubt. But there is still maybe a little sense of pride in there that might make it a little bit hard to reach pure devotion. Like we say, people who are very good at worshiping demigods, they may be in goodness. Sometimes we call them in passion. There's even a case where we call them demonic somewhat, but it's not pure. We need to get to the platform of Vishuddha Sattva Guna. Vishuddha means pure goodness. So there is a little bit of a blockage there if one is in goodness, but it's really the best place to be. Because when you're in goodness, you're a thoughtful person. You take time to process everything before you open your mouth. You think about what you're going to say and don't fly off the handle and just say any old thing that's spontaneous and feel, I'm being straightforward. Okay, well, be straightforward. We agree with that. But why don't you think about what you're going to say before you open that, that mouth of yours. Take the time to process, and try to always use logic. Brahmins, or usually the mode of goodness, they will try to argue with their points that they like to make, and that if they're challenged, Kshatriyas will like to take up some arms. Okay, I don't agree with you, so let's have a sword fight and so on like that. People of other backgrounds, it's usually advised to just run away, just get out of there. They feel threatened. So mode of goodness can be a little bit contaminating, and like we see a lot of Brahmin people, they're very proud. I'm Brahmin, and I'm the most qualified. I'm at the front of the line. Right. So let's then go to the next one, which is another famous verse. And I would just take a note of it to learn this one, to memorize it. Quoted many times by Prabhupada. So can somebody give us this verse, read it for us?
The divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Okay. What can anybody tell me? What is significant about this verse? Why does it become so powerful? And why is it that Prabhupada quotes it quite a lot?
The loophole is there. The loophole, how to get out of material world.
Right. Because You want to say it's significant because there's the solution, how to overcome material energy, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else have any comments they'd like to make?
Seems to be
Okay, so let's explore it a little further. The material energy, which is the three energies, okay? Sattva, Guna, Rajagun, Tamagun. It is difficult to overcome them. We already discussed how they blind us. How do we get unblinded? Well, it's very hard because these blindfolds, Sattva, Guna, Rajagun, Tamagun, they're very tightly binding us so that we cannot see things properly. Why are they so difficult to overcome? Because they come from Krishna. And anything that comes from Krishna is not cheap. You know? In fact, it says divine energy. Krishna goes so far as to say that three modes of material nature are divine because they're coming from the divine. That's why. That's what we mean by the word deity, right in the beginning. Now, the first part of this verse can be very discouraging. The Lord is saying that Duratyaya. Duratyaya means very difficult to deal with, hard to fight the three modes of material nature. But the second part of the verse is very hopeful, where Krishna is saying, but all you have to do is surrender to me, and then you can overcome it. Like, in other words, we're saying, it's difficult to climb that mountain. It's hard to get to that peak, you know. But Krishna, with our surrender, will help us to get to that peak. It takes a lot of determination. It takes a lot of sincerity, and then you will be successful. So it's one of those verses that provide hope. And that's why I think it's so important to understand several factors here. It's called divine because it's coming from the Lord. It is powerful. It is hard to overcome because it's coming from the Lord. However, you can overcome it. It just takes surrender. That's all. Okay. Now we're going to go to two verses. And again, we're talking about different kinds of people. In the next two shlokas, we're looking at those who find it very difficult to overcome because their nature is very strong. They're very tightly bound up in this mundane world. Another verse that's really a good one to learn, to memorize. I know as a brahmachari, we learned this verse. This was really important. Namang duskritino mudha prabhadyante naradama maya aparitjnana asuram bhavam asrita. So let's, somebody can give me the English translation?
Can I say?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Sartak, is that you?
Yes, Maharaj.
late.
Hare
I'm
Krishna.
pretty much knowing your voice now. Okay. Go
Thank you. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me.
Okay, so we're finding out that there's 4 types of categories of people that find it very difficult. Duskritina, this Sanskrit word that appears in the first line, Prabhupada translates it as those who are meritorious for mischief making. Okay, in other words, those who are famous for being rascals. Okay. And so we can give some examples of even modern pop culture where, like, mafia gang leaders, they became very popular and recognized. Almost, for some people, almost adored characters, even though they did a lot of wrong things. In the case of Al Capone, he was charged for tax evasion. They couldn't nail him on anything. Like, he did a lot of rough stuff, but they couldn't really, have hard evidence. I'm talking about the authorities. So they got him on tax evasions. Now he became famous. Most of you know Al Capone, Well, any people of rotten characters, everybody knows about them. It seems like well known, well established. And but there's four of those kind of classifications of people that don't make it to the grade of submitting to Krishna amongst this group of Buddha. Okay, so let's look at what the four kinds are. And Prabhupada does go at length to describe them. Let's have a sneak peek at in the purport on the next page over. A mudha is one who is grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves, and so do not want to part with them for the Supreme. The example that Shastra gives, the beast of burden is like an ass or member of the donkey clan. They work really hard, and they just get so little pay in the end. They are considered a beast of burden, oftentimes abused by man. And so this is like, some people are like, I guess you could say, workaholics. They work so hard, they take a little time to enjoy life. They just work. And that is their God. Work is God. Yeah, so those are the kind of people who have it really tough. Then, so they're called mudas. And let's look at the second category, naradama. Nara, when we look at human being, that's like Narasingha, meaning Narasingha is the avatar who's half man. Singha is the lion incarnation, the lion aspect, man and lion. We're referring here to the lowest of mankind, low life. People are just not very advanced, just don't think very deeply. It's spiritual life is just doesn't enter their realm. Says, I don't see it, I don't believe it. And they take to very lowly ways of sense gratification. So that's considered naradama. Then number 3, we can look over to the next page. All right. Description is called Maya Aparita Jnanam. Maya Aparita Jnanam means jnanam, we know, refers to knowledge. But Maya Aparita means stolen, when intelligence is stolen or it's directed towards sense gratification. You got a lot of people who are always coming up with new gadgets and gadgets and gizmos for enjoying sense gratification. A lot of scientists fit into this category. And people in laboratories, they come up with interesting inventions which are meant to make our life a little easier and sleazier. And so while they have great intelligence, a great analytical power, they direct it all towards sense gratification, and therefore they have little time or room or thought towards adoring someone, namely the Creator. So that is my Jnana. These can be great scholars, pundits, even, but they oftentimes miss the boat because their intelligence has been polluted by sense gratification. But they believe that's the prime goal in life. Let's make life real easy. Okay, and then we'll look at the bottom of the page. My page is 323, number 4. Duskriti, this classification of people as a asrita, bhavam asrita. Those who are born with demonic qualities. Those who are, let's say, corrupted and deny the existence of the Lord. We call them asuras in Sanskrit. That's another group of person that makes it very hard to submit to Krishna. So 4 kinds of people. I think that if we look at the next verse, we'll find there are 4 kinds of people. The first word, chatu, chatu means 4. 4 kinds of individuals who are favorable to Krishna consciousness. It's key. The path of bhakti is quite easy for them to tread, to walk on. Is there somebody who would like to look at text number 16? Who hasn't had a chance yet?
I didn't.
All right. Gaurachandra, go for it.
O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute.
Good. Wonderful. So the first group category of people that find it quite natural to join Krishna are those who are the arta. Arta means they are distressed, or in modern day terms, it's stressed or depressed. It's oftentimes a prerequisite for becoming Krishna conscious. You struggle. Life is tough. It's not like living on easy street. It's very difficult. And so they hit a low point in life. And they want to get out of that. So they find that these kind of people, mentally at least, sometimes physically, just get on their knees and says, God, please help me. Please help me from this miserable condition that I'm in. And I find that's very true. Many people who come to Krishna consciousness are those who are, going through some we call stuff. Some challenges have befallen them, and so they find the need to go to a higher power. So struggle sometimes lead to triumphant situations, so it's not bad. If we say that COVID-19, it's all bad, well, it isn't truly, because some people are maybe a little bit more introspective. They'll say, okay, I get it. There's a lockdown. I get it. I have to adjust. I get it. I need these challenges. It helps me to become strong. So people of that kind of mentality will welcome distressful situations, like Queen Kunti in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. She's talking about, let calamities happen, oh my Lord Krishna, because when they come to us, we think of you. And when we think of you, we will no longer see repeated birth and death. So she's welcoming calamity. And that's not an interest. That is a prayer that you don't hear people praying too much. There's not many people who just says, God, put me in trouble. It's usually the opposite, right? God, get me out of trouble. So she's saying, put me in trouble, because it then encourages the search, the refuge, the protection. It comes a lot stronger then. So it's not a bad thing. All right. So then we have Artha, Jignasur. Let's see, we'll not look at that one at the moment. Let's see. The Jignasu, yes, that means the inquisitive. A lot of people that I've seen, they come to Krishna consciousness also because they find it very novel. They find it's very exotic. They like the loose clothing. It's comfortable. They love the food. There's an intrigue there. I mean to say they're interested. The music, it's so divine. Oftentimes they'll look at the exteriors, and there's no harm in that. There really isn't. But they're just curious, and they kind of fall in love with the culture. So I want this. I've been looking for this. I embrace it. Give me a second, okay? Station break. Discount charge. I'm going to help you. No, the temple will not be open because of COVID-19. You can check with us at the end of the month. All right. We're just not taking any chances. All right. Okay, I'm back again. Are we doing okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Now I find the next group is those who are trying to RT, those who are trying to establish themselves financially. I have actually witnessed in the temple, many people will come, of course, when they open up their mind, I'm here to God to help me with my finances. I am, it's a little bit about distress. And a lot of people are, let's say, financially destitute, and so they go to God, help me to pay my bills. I feel for those kind of people. One way. This comes wrong. Can I help you? Okay, so people are in need of financial support. They come to God, and then finally you have the super inquisitive. And so we just mentioned that. And then there are those who are just in knowledge. They are like yanis. And the simple mindset is that here I am. I'm a tiny little soul in this big world. There's a greater power than me. There is a great power and a greater intelligence in my own. And that people call God, and there's different terms. And I must simply surrender and submit. It just comes natural, logical thinking. I'm just a little speck in the universe. Who am I? I'm nothing practically. But I realize I have to cooperate. Cooperation means to submit, to surrender, as opposed to resisting. Most people are always resisting. They're told about surrender. No, I don't want to be a servant. I want to be the master. Okay. Well, what about being a happy servant instead of a miserable master? Because that's the choice, isn't it? Miserable master or happy servant. You're going to be an MM or an HS. Take your pick. Hare Krishna. Any questions about that shloka, that verse? Very famous verse also, just like the other one we just passed through, 15. These are good ones to memorize.
Maharaj,
Yep.
I have a dilemma.
Okay, so do I.
Because I'm right in the middle between when you mention Artha, in distress. I was distressed, depressed, and I went to the temple. But then I realized that I have Asuric Bhav. And so that's why I never surrender. So I'm right in the middle between maybe I have a chance because the verse before is optimistic. If I surrender, I could make it. But then I have this Asuric Bhav. In fact, you mentioned Al Capone, and I come from the same city where he was born. So I think I have a lot of his qualities. And that's why I cannot surrender.
Well, let me argue the point. You can say that I was born in the same city as Al Capone, but that doesn't mean you are like him. I mean, Krishna was born in the same country as Kamsa, but that doesn't mean he's like Kamsa. Ravana and Ram were born in the same part of the world, but that doesn't mean that they are the same. There's different neighborhoods. And, if maybe Al Capone was on the wrong side of the tracks in your town. We have that saying, wrong side of the tracks. But what we can say is that you came to Krishna, you submitted yourself, and you see the value in it all. It was superior to what you were doing before. And so there's definitely some goodness in you. I wouldn't say you're asuric, I wouldn't be, I'd go so far as to say that. But I can say this, that for many of us, because the Kali Yuga is so messed up, many of us have a little bit of all of these in us. In the Duskritana category and also in the goodness category. Right? We have a little bit of both of them in us, right? I think some of us come to Krishna consciousness because we are in distress. That's true. I've seen a lot of people come because they had a little tough upbringing or they had a love in their life and that broke off. And so they're depressed and they're looking for someone. A lot of people are just looking for a good community to be part of, right? So anyways, I think many of us have a little piece of each one of these items. But to be very neat and to always present boxes, most of us fit more squarely into a square box where one of these particular qualities is most prominent. One of them. Is that okay?
Thank you. Although surrender, as you said, it's not easy, but you are showing the perfect example. So, and it seems to me that a sannyasi is the only one who is really surrendered. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Srila Prabhupada said that for the Grihastha, or even Griyamedi, Grihastha is a great word. For the Griyamedi, but even for the Grihastha, it's very, very difficult to surrender and achieve Param Gatin. So, is that right? The sannyas is the perfect example, and the 18th chapter is the perfection of renunciation, which means sannyas. So, maybe, I don't know if we have a hope. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's kind of personal when you talk about yourself, but if you ask my personal opinion, you may not be sannyas material, but you are sannyasi in spirit in the sense that you have this attraction for Krishna. You like to serve him, you keep up a certain standard of sadhana. So that's a sign. that you are, indeed in the classification of subjects.
Maharaj,
Yes.
your sound is very mechanical sound, like robotic sound. Is it
What?
possible to fix
That
it?
happened again. Okay. I'm not sure what we can do about that. Is it still bad?
Yeah. Well, it's okay. At least could you, speak up a little bit?
Speak up and a little slower.
Yeah.
Okay, we will do that. When did this robotic sound begin?
About 3 minutes back, but that's okay. We were able to hear you, but I am thinking, I'm not sure about the YouTube, so I'm asking that. So we can hear you. Oh, it's okay.
Okay. All right, I'll just keep trying. Any other points to cover on these verses that we just looked at, Prabhu's?
Maharaj, I have one question. This is Sarthak again.
Sarthak, can you hear me clearly?
No, Maharaj, your voice is a little robotic, as Mataji said.
Should I move robotically also?
No.
Okay, please give us the question. Hopefully we'll get over this strangeness.
Yes. So, Maharaj, I don't know if there should be a fifth category as well, because like I was mentioning to you, I mean, when I came to this movement, I was just confused. So I think, should there be a fifth subcategory called as those who are confused about what's going on? Because I was not sure what's going on with my life. I mean, I had no difficulty or hardship, but I just thought something was lacking and I just need to add some element to it. So maybe those who are really confused as to what they're lacking, could that be a subtype or a separate category altogether?
So would you like us to change the words of the Supreme Personality of God?
No. I would need your help to categorize myself. I'm not able to categorize myself into one of these four.
Okay.
So where would that go?
Then what I would say is, what is it that drew you to Krishna consciousness?
The prasadam
Prasadam,
and the
okay.
kirtan. These two things.
And the kirtan. So
Yes.
you were curious, you were inquisitive. It was novel, it was new, it was fresh. So I would just put you in that curious category. And
Okay.
I'm sure there's other things in there as well that play into it. But I'd say mostly you've got to be a man who's in that inquisitive period. Like you're in illustrious company. The four Kumaras, the sons of Brahma, they were curious, they were meditating, they were yogis, and they had their eyes closed even. And then during their meditation, they smelled some tulsi leaves, the freshness of a tulsi leaf, because, if you, again, this afternoon I was out for a little bit with one family, and we took some needles from the tamarack tree and twisted them a little bit so you could smell their effervescence. And similarly, we did that with the cedar tree. Took some of it and pinched it, and then you could smell this thing. So we were intrigued with the scents of these particular trees. So by probing a little bit into Krishna consciousness, you get excited. It's something new. It's like I say, I guess the best word is novel, and you're drawn into it. It takes you to, then you want to go to the next level. So I would put you in that category, because sometimes we want to put ourselves in boxes so we can identify with what's being said here. Like some people.
Sure. Thanks, Maharaj.
Some people like to kind of figure out, am I more of a Brahminical person? Do I like studying? Do I like teaching? Do I like being clean? Do I like to exercise honesty? So those are all Brahminical qualities. So we try to figure out if you've got a lot of check marks along these particular attributes, then you say, okay, it's almost like doing a self-assessment. Yeah, so I think that's why these two verses, those who don't surrender, those who do, they are very relevant because they do help us to understand where we are coming from. Where am I categorized? I think it's okay. But what you're going to find is the most interesting thing about these two verses is the culmination. And number 17 says it all. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am dear to him and he is dear to me. Okay. So the people have been sort of theoretical. They get beyond theory. They figured out there's a great power out there. I should submit. That's one thing. But the person who comes to Krishna consciousness with that mindset is the one who is ready to do some service right away. Is he understood? Hey, I am subordinate to the universe. So why don't I just cooperate with the universe? Take care of the universe. Act as a, what's the word, guardian, or act as a, I'm looking for a particular word. Not guardian exactly, but something along those lines. So this is the
Caretakers, maybe.
caretakers. Yeah, there's another word that I'm looking for. Yeah, but I think you get the idea. I think you get the idea. So of the four kinds of classifications of people that surrender to Krishna, those who are in knowledge, they have a better chance. They're going to quickly slide into the category of someone who likes to serve, wants to serve, and get out of the theory mode and more into the practical mode. Okay, we want to go from jnanam to vijnanam, right? We want to advance. We want to go from following rules to not following rules. Following rules means to establish a foundation, to have some discipline. But after a while, you realize I don't really have to follow because I'm just spontaneously active in devotional service. It becomes second nature. All right. So what do you, Prabhus, think about that verse, that shloka? This one we just went over, 17. Krishna is giving us a strong hint as how to get dear to him, how to get close to him. But what if you're not naturally attracted, but you might get there? What can we say about a person who is a jnani by nature, who can analyze things very clearly and figure it out? I am small, I'm a little screw into this universal mechanism. And if I don't cooperate and work with the operation, then I will get screwed. Nice verse. It's a really important part of our philosophy. That's why the more we read Prabhupada's books, the more we fall into this category of being a jnani instead of a person who's just, as we say, a karmi, a rascal. Okay, no thoughts on that one? Number 17.
So Maharaj, here again, Krishna is trying to make a point that as Prabhupada used to say, that even those who surrender to Krishna with some material intent, Krishna takes care of those as well. But the ones who do it purely for devotional point of view, they are the ones who are the best ones, or they are the ones who are the closest ones to Krishna. Or maybe that
That's
platform is the best platform.
yeah. Krishna's telling us where we should go. You know, what kind of mentality we should have. Yeah,
Maharaj,
most.
but can this be seen as a ladder? Like, is it talking about that specific rung of the ladder? That this rung of the ladder is the best, or this position is the best, something of that sort.
This position is the best, and if you're not there now, try to make it there. Again,
Okay.
that's why we study the Gita, so that our intelligence will get purified, as opposed to being our intelligence being robbed by Maya Aparitagyana, one of the persons we were talking about in the category of those who are having a hard time to surrender. Yeah, but very good point, Sarthak. Yeah, very good.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Haribol.
My obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada. I just had a question. So, with regards to those four different people who come to Krishna, even if one comes in the lower stages of, desiring wealth or just distress, then is it appropriate to say that no matter in which way one comes, ultimately they'll come to the point of, being inquisitive about the Supreme Personality, or even knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead through whatever means that one comes?
Well, a Vaishnava is very compassionate. When he sees a newcomer coming along, he's just happy that he's coming through one of the channels, one of the four. And where any of them are good, because you see, even a person who's a little bit but kind of a jnani type, he might go into a slump, he might slow down, he might get proud. I'm a pundit, I know better than other people. So sometimes we see some people who come for the wrong reason, like somebody said something about prasadam, and for the food to taste good, my senses love it, my tongue has led me here. Still, we should look at everybody with equanimity and say, it doesn't matter what is your background, your reason for coming here. You are here. That's the most important thing. Those who actually come with a lower purpose, we should applaud them even more, because we are recognizing that their journey is going to be a longer stretch. And they're making the effort to go for that long stretch. So they need a lot of encouragement. That's the role we play as devotees. Let's
Thank
say
you.
somebody surrenders to God out of distress. Okay, the distress is removed. Okay, what's the attitude? I don't need God now. I don't need him. I needed him then, but he came and helped out. It's okay now. I don't need him anymore. It's just like my grandparents, they were good, or my parents were good to me, but now they need some help. They need some seniors care. So I don't need them anymore. That kind of attitude, that's very sickly. So let us have a heart. Let us have compassion and help those in need of help. Our greatest service is to encourage, empower newcomers to this Krishna consciousness. That's the greatest service. And that's indicated in chapter 18 from the Bhagavad Gita, right at the tail end. Anya priyataro bhuvi. There's no one more dear to me than he who explains this dialogue, this conversation to others. So if you want to win Krishna's favor, start sharing Krishna consciousness. Give it out to others. What do you think?
When you give, you grow. And we live to give.
Oh, yes, yes, that's right. I've heard that phrase somewhere. Yeah,
Thank you, Maharaj.
good. All right. Now we're getting close to the end of our period here. We have come to talk about, with this theme of verses, we've been talking about different seekers, different human conditions. We've analyzed them. We've looked at them. And then, so I think it is a good spot to stop at before we enter the others. I hope you took note of the verses that are good to memorize so that when you have a chance, like say, for instance, if you're on a construction site and you got one of those drills, maybe you're memorizing, these shlokas.
That's part where I've learned most of my verses is at work when I have downtime.
Yes, yes.
Which one, Maharaj, is a good one?
Well, the two verses that talk about 4 kinds of people who surrender and those who do not. So that's 15 and 16. Number 14 is also really good. Devotees ask, why can't I become Krishna conscious? And why can't it be more easy? Answer, verse 14. It says, because material energy is strong. Why is it strong? Because it's coming from Krishna. Okay, so I think that those verses are really good. And I also pointed out 13. 13 also is a reason for us being in ignorance because of the 3 gunas. You want to blame someone, blame the 3 gunas, the 3 energies. People like to scapegoat all the time. So blame it on God. They're his energies. No, I think the best thing is to onus is on yourself. Someone asked Prabhupada about why is it hard to surrender to Krishna? And Prabhupada's answer is because your determination is weak. It's not that Maya is strong, it's that your determination is weak. It's the flip side of the coin. All right, Hare Krishna. So we don't have too many people. Let's develop that WhatsApp. I think a lot of it has to do with holidays. And let's get a few more folks on board. I don't know what happened to Arjuna and then Agni Prabhu from South America. They were regulars.
Arjuna went to
Avatar.
somewhere to his to see his parents or something.
Okay.
So
All right.
back after 2-3 weeks, he said.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. I totally lost track of days. I've been off for 2 weeks and I just totally slipped my mind and I was out and about. So sorry about last week also.
Oh, it happens to me too. I'm walking, said, Maharaj, we're waiting for you. Oh God, okay. And I rush back to the temple. I'm doing another class with a couple of young guys, and that's Tuesdays at 2:30. And we used to be 3:30, so I got confused. It was always all the way at the end of the street. Maharaj, it's our time. Oh, yeah, right, okay. All right, thank you. Some feedback, Prabhus. What were some of the good things that you got from our discussion today?
Encouraging new people is the best thing we can do for our Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. Some people say live to give, but give to live. If you give, you give to a newcomer, you'll start living. Because it makes you the happiest person when you share Krishna consciousness. It really does. You become so happy when you've made someone else been able to find their place in the world. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. At the same bad time, same bad.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank
Happy
you
New
very
Year.
much,
Happy
Maharaj.
New Year, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj, please. We need your blessing. I want your blessing.
Chant City Hall like the old days.
I want your blessing. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank
Hari
you.
Hari
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Vanchakalpataruvyascha karo.
Gita Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Happy New Year, Mataji.
Thank you. Wish you all a
Sarthak,
happy
if
new
you are
year.
in Mumbai, you will
And
be.
please join next week, the same time, same link. Let me disconnect the YouTube and